Welcome to Thriving Beyond, the podcast with stories of thriving through when the obstacles are far from few. Here's your host, whose own story has been featured in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Vidal Cisneros Jr.
So Tamara,
it's a funny conversation though.
Tamara like camera. Okay. All right, everybody. Now that I got her name right, it's Tamara Thompson we have as a guest today. Tamara Thompson is an award-winning filmmaker and director who has found her niche with inspiring storytelling utilizing video production, which is awesome. And we're going to talk about that a little bit deeper in this segment towards the end. And she is passionate about golf, storyboarding, building relationships, and directing documentary-style films that inspire. She's also produced for corporate clients such as Microsoft and Starbucks. Starbucks, love Starbucks. And Tamara. Tamara. See, I'm still messing it up. Tamara left the corporate world. She wanted to become her own boss, and she's built client relationships with Safeway, Gabriel Cosmetics, and EOFire's host, John Lee Dumas. And she's also been honored to direct passion projects with artists Encore, a web series involving artists from American Idol, X Factor, and NBC's The Voice. Very cool. So her recent film documentary, Inspired by 11, features 11 top entrepreneurial leaders and influencers from around the globe. Just to name a few, John Lee Dumas and Pat Flynn. So we're excited to have you with us on Thriving Beyond. How are you doing, Tamara?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me on here. Yeah, I've done a lot of stuff and I keep continuing to do awesome things. So thank you so much for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Hey, the pleasure's all ours, and hoping I get your name the rest of the way through correctly.
Tamara like the camera. Tamara behind the camera.
Tamara behind the camera. I love it. So you do a lot of video production work, and how has that been going as of late?
Oh, it's fantastic. You know, a little bit about my background. I used to run around with a large camcorder that my dad had when I was 7. So I'd put it on my shoulder, 7 years old, running around with video cameras, and kind of started there. And then when YouTube came out, I actually started a YouTube channel right when it came out. And I have friends that are considered YouTube sensations now that have 2.5 million subscribers. I'm I started when they did. I probably would have that too. I had deleted my channel and I had over 800,000 views on the channel before I deleted it years ago. And I was oh, I probably should have just kept that. But that wasn't the direction I was going with video. So video has always been something that I've been passionate about. I went back to school in my late 20s for video production at the Art Institute, started my first documentary film when I was in college, and started a Series Take Productions basically the last year I was in college, and also went into the corporate field. So I was doing part-time video production for my own company, as well as doing full-time video producing roles and video management for corporate companies as well. So I've always just been passionate about video, period, and just really figuring out what I was the most passionate about. And it was always through stories. Basically I worked with artists from NBC's The Voice, American Idol, who I directed music videos. I directed a whole web series with them. And basically the things that I started realizing that I liked the most was the music, the emotion evoked, the stories, everything like that. And I really got into loving documentary films. And when I produced my first one in 2012, it was funny because when I was little, I literally said to myself, I don't like documentaries. They're boring, because those were the types of ones that I'd watch in school, but they were always educational and not necessarily inspiring. And then when I finally found out that there's really cool content out there in documentaries, I wanted to create more, but I knew that I couldn't create documentary full lengths for everyone. So I thought to myself, well, why don't we produce really high quality epic trailers for individuals, brands, businesses, companies to basically get their brand story out there? And that's where people are able to connect with you through video visually, plus through their actual story, and be able to add the right music and add all that stuff to it. It just strikes people's emotion, and then it automatically allows people to get to know you, your brand, your story, the business, all that ties into what you want to do with your business. So that's where we led Serious Take Productions to create, connect, and inspire through videos. I also share my stories through stages as well, but that's really where the purpose came from for our company.
Wow. So that vision has been embedded with you since a very early age.
Yes, definitely. Even though I didn't really realize it until later. But yeah, it definitely was something I had looked at as a hobby at first. And then for about 4 years, after I started the YouTube channel for 4 years, people were like, why don't you turn this into a career? And then I finally took people seriously. And that's where Serious Take Productions came through, because we take our business seriously as well. So that's where that name came from.
Wow, there's a lot to just talk about right now, just with what you said. I know right now what's hot and trending is document and not so much creating content. That's what's kind of been trending and what's been on my radar. And that's actually what I do with some clients, and some of the client work I do with video production, content production. So it's awesome to have another content creator on the conversation with us here on Thriving Beyond. And then also you mentioned you had a YouTube channel early on and you got rid of it.
I did. I was wondering how many subscribers I'd have now, but everything happens for a reason, right?
Yes. And actually, I can relate. How long ago did you start that? Was that 2009, 2008, 2005 when YouTube really...
That dates my age.
really came on, was on the map, right?
When it first came out, literally, it first came out, and I had one of those little Canon snapshot cameras where you could record video. Mm-hmm. And so I would literally, and I show some of these silly videos. I'm actually sharing one of these, 3 of these videos on stage where I'm speaking at an event this week in San Diego. But it's cool to be able to show the evolution of it. But I always was in some sort of storytelling creative mode. So I would do vlogs basically, but tours of things, or dancing to music, or lip syncing to something, that Numa Numa song, I can't even I have a silly video where I'm literally singing and lip singing, but I'm on a flip phone, cell phone, because my facial expressions, if people ever watch me, I can just do really I'm very animated. And so they'll just laugh. And so I was always out there to put on not a show, but just make people laugh and have a good time. And so I just kind of show people what I was doing. But I'm friends with I met iJustine, who's huge, I'm friends with Cassandra Bankson and all these people that have over 1 million subscribers, 2 million, whatever. And we also work with people also for some of our clients. So we do some of the production on some of these amazing, you see some of the way that YouTubers position themselves now, their shows are very high quality, some of them. So you can imagine the production that goes, but obviously my original ones didn't go that way with production, but that inspired me to go back to school for it, to learn more about it, to be more professional. So yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah, I'm a complete hack on my end compared to you. There's no doubt about that. But I was gonna relate to you with the YouTube channel. Was that years ago I started a YouTube channel, and I had one video go viral from it. Now I do nothing with that YouTube channel anymore. It's still out there. But that one video that went viral, which has over 200,000 some views, it's still creating subscribers for my email list. And that's the cool thing with YouTube. So
you kept it though. You're lucky. You kept the channel. I had deleted mine. I was like, why did I do that? But I don't know. Wasn't how I wanted to be portrayed, I guess, at the time. But then it's all about part of my personality, right? So I should have just left it. But that's cool. Congrats on that. So you continue to get subscribers still from that. That's a great experience, though.
Yeah, that goes to show the power of YouTube. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. So if you could sum up what you do in one sentence or less, what would that be, Tamara?
That's a good question. In one sentence, I would say we create an epic experience from pre-production, production to post-production for successful entrepreneurs and business owners to really create their story and get their message out there to the world to impact many.
Got it. Okay. All right. So
I could say that better, but you get the gist of it. My whole purpose is to create, connect, and inspire through video as well as through stages as well. But really just getting that message out there for anyone that works with us, because it's really hard because people don't understand like the attention to detail that like a whole team has for you in regards to, like, yeah, you can go out and hire a videographer or a freelancer. They can go out and get you some creative shots and things like that. And there's some people that have amazing eyes, but when you work with us, it's literally the whole team, from the storyboarding aspect. We have storyboarding artists, the strategic planning, the copyright, like what is it? Do you need a teleprompter? Like what is it that helps you feel more comfortable on camera? Like, do you want to be on camera? Do you want to be like documentary style, talking away from the camera? Do you want to have a voiceover? Like there's so much planning when it goes into an actual video production company that wants to create this full-on experience. It's always about the experience with us. That's why if people look up our website, Serious Take Productions, all of our products end with the word experience, because that is what we create for our clients. And that's what's most important, is to impact others by the experience. They connect with the story, and that's basically like where we mold in there. So that's what's most important to me, is to make sure that everyone has their purpose shared with many, and basically to impact the world.
Yeah. And that's the one thing too I noticed, is that videographer alone doesn't do like justice to what you do. And storytelling is so important. I mean, same thing with some of the production work I do with this podcast. Is it's all storytelling. And I tend to go back sometimes to Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, which is kind of like some of the best framework that I love growing up, watching Star Wars, and, dating myself too as well. Yeah.
Star Wars junkie too? Wars. I'm like, dude, I love like the Ewoks, the one with the Ewoks.
Yes.
Which one is that? Return of the Jedi? No.
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back?
No, it was the last one. Return of the Jedi was the last one. Yep. That came out like 1980s, mid 1980s.
Jabba the Hutt and all the other characters. Like, I don't know. I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it dates me a little too, but it's okay. We're here.
Absolutely. So I'm glad that you prefaced all the aspects of production work and not just the videography.
It's a team effort too. Like I really do focus on, when I really found out, when I was working with one of my mentors, like he sat down with me and he was like, Tamara, what is it that you love to do? Like I realized, because I went to school for this. I've done the videography aspect. I go on set sometimes still. I'm there. I'm physically there. I've edited stuff. I still edit some things at times, but we do have editors for our clients and stuff like that. So really like fine tuning things, but being able to oversee everything, but having the background with all of it helps me to oversee things as well. But just having like a whole team, like, because you can collaborate with people too. And yeah, I understand when there are situations to hire just a videographer, but that videographer might not be the best editor for you. There's people that specify specifically are, experts in specific fields, but it's cool to be able to have a team of creatives that, we have the business side of it as well. That's one thing that I love the side of business, and being able to learn business and know business, as well as having that creative visual side as well, has helped me through that process. But yeah, I love the fact that we've built a team too, because my mentor was like, what do you like to do? I was like, I love to pull out the story. And he's like, well, that's it. Like, I love having conversations with people. I love, when it's a sales conversation, it doesn't even seem like a sales call to me, because it's literally a conversation, and people are inspired and impacted, and they automatically want to work with us because they've seen our work and they see what we do. They see who we're connected with, and it's about building the relationships with these people. A lot of people come in through referrals, or we've talked to them and they come back to us a few months later when they feel they're ready. Mm-hmm. It's building that relationship, and instead of being like, here's your video when you're done, it's more like, how can we help support you now? Like, what is your next step? Like, we've partnered with digital agencies where we create videos that go through funnels, and we have packages with SEO and, all these different things, because video is needed in all these different aspects in the digital space now. It's not just like, here's your video, bye, but more, here's how you can actually implement with your video now. Like, are you going to use this for Facebook marketing? The tools for that. Is it going to go through a funnel? Like, do you need videos for social media? How can we implement all that together? And so it's more like an actual team and a company to help do that. So there's just definitely differences out there, because people are like, oh, I can always just hire a freelancer. They're not going to do all of that for you, though. It's about the experience and what kind of quality you want with all of that. So, because you can start hiring freelancers through all those little pieces.
Right.
But working with a team of people that work together all the time, that, it's easier to do, I think, for businesses.
Oh, I completely get it. I get it, Tamara, and that's the beautiful part of it. And I wanted to ask you next, as this CEO of Serious Take Productions, if you could give us some of your routine, or maybe some of the best practices that you try to keep instilled to, I guess, create consistency. What are some of the things that you wake up to throughout your day, or some rituals that you implement intentionally?
Well, I always like to set goals. So I set out these lists, and I'm like an overachiever at times. So I set lists that have like 8-10 things to accomplish per day. And I'm like going full force. There's days where I'm, that entrepreneur minded, where I don't realize that I'm working like 10, 12-hour days, because I'm so passionate about our mission and what we do. But like I have to, we use like the Trello board, to keep team communication. That's, it's good to see who's working on what projects. Like that helps me stay like here, or like Trello.com. A thing that I like to do is, I'm a huge connector, and a lot of people, my nickname's the connector. So I have people reaching out to me, hey, can you connect me with this person? I like to build relationships with people first. I like for them to get to know me and just kind of hear the story out. It's important to do that. I don't want to just throw out some connection to somebody I don't know with somebody else. Like, it just doesn't make sense to do that. But I do, when it makes sense and I hear people's story, I automatically think, well, oh my gosh, I would love to connect you with this person, because this would be an amazing fit for this. Or even if it's like podcasts, like I'll introduce friends to podcasts because I know that they're their ideal person to have on the show. But I always, my goal is to reach out to 3 new people a day. And sometimes it turns out to like 30 new people a day. So I set the goal low.
I know the feeling.
But yeah, it's really, my routine is basically getting up and just figuring out the specific things that I need to work on for the week as well as the month, like setting up those goals for your business and make sure that it's known throughout the whole team, because if something's missing, like the links just don't connect, and then setting all the deadlines. And I'm not that entrepreneur that likes to read. I'm not a reader. Like, people are like, oh, did you read this book? Nope. But I'm very creative. It's more like I have ADHD. I'll be like, squirrel, like just off on my own little tangent. But when I'm focused, I'm extremely focused. So like, I set my goals, I do that, and no matter what I do, I accomplish my goals. Like, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to go through and do it. If I'm told a friend I'm going to go out to their event, I'm going to do it, unless some like freak accident happens where I'm traveling and I miss my flight, or things happen. But like, when I commit to something, I do it. And it's just, that kind of separates me from others, where people tend to make excuses, and I hear excuses every day, and I say, well, why not? Like, if somebody says something like, well, why? Like, why aren't you doing video? Like, oh, well, I'm not. I challenge people all the time to do Facebook Live. I said, I do Facebook Live at least once a week. I say, be consistent, go on there, talk about something. Oh, I have nothing to talk about. Well, you could talk about tips about your business, tell a story, show them behind the scenes. There's 3 tips right there, what you could do on Facebook Live right now. Like, oh, well, I don't have much time in the day. Oh, you can't take your phone for 5 minutes to talk. Like, just put it on your calendar. Like, the excuses people make, like, it kind of forms like who we are in a sense. If you want to be an entrepreneur or a business owner and you want to strive and thrive, basically, to make success, then you need to take massive action, like me, to get to where you want to be. Like my background, I know we've talked about this a little bit in private, but with my background, there's a reason why I am the way I am now. Like, I was very unhappy back in my past. I got into drinking in my mid-20s, and I became an alcoholic. And I went through these different times, and from my story, I went from a girl that was literally dumped out of a relationship to the next day. I went running. I was hit by a car. I was knocked out for 27 hours. And so I just lost my first love, and I lost my ability to play basketball really well. I played basketball in college. So two things I just loved the most, lost that. And basically, I was also a personal trainer. So I lost the ability to train. So that basically wiped out my life, like what I was doing at that point. So I gained 85 pounds in that year. I went into deep depression, went into alcoholism. I was at the bar 5 days a week. And it was like Cheers, where everybody knows your name. Hey, Cliff. Hey, Norm. Hey, Tamara. I thought I was like this cool, like social butterfly. Everybody knew my name. Like I was that cool cat, right? But I made really bad decisions to drink and drive over and over and over again. I'm lucky I never hurt anyone physically in like any accident, but I was pulled over multiple times over a 6-year period where the drinking got really bad. And I was literally pulled over 5 times, put in jail 5 times, accused of DUIs 4 times, 2 dropped, went to jail for I was sentenced to the minimum where I actually fought that, where I could have gone to jail for over a year. I went to jail for 90 days, but then I was also put on house arrest for 4 months. And through that process, I was sentenced to probation and AA and alcohol treatment. I went through treatment 3 times. The 3rd time I caught on. I actually was sober, stayed sober through the 3rd one, like 3rd time's a charm, right? But like all these things that I went through, I realized more about my personality as I became sober, and like how direct I am, and just like what I wanted to do with my life, because I kept seeing it spiral. And when I was pulled over the last time back in about over 6 years ago in December, I remember the look on my face, or looked on the judge's face when I came in first in the jail. They're like, "We're not letting you out. Like, you're a threat. Like, that they're like, your bail's at $25,000. Like, I didn't have the money to bail myself out. Neither did my mom. My stepdad actually was kind enough to actually put his car up on a lien to bail me out. And then the process of that went from literally the shame that was on my family's face from that last time to realizing I am going to jail for a while, and that I really need to do something, or I'm really just going to keep messing up my life. And so during that time, I was actually in school. So I was sober the last year that I was going to film school. Started the business, Serious Take Productions, right when I sobered up, basically, or right before. And so there was just a lot of things that happened, and I'm still sober today. I have over 6 years sober. So I occasionally have to drink like energy drinks, like sugar, like that. Just, it's like you almost go from one addiction to another. But I always tell people, like, I think my addiction now is just being addicted to business and being able to be addicted to something that I really am passionate about. Addictions aren't always good, but they're not always bad either. And so I had changed my whole life around based on like who I actually surrounded myself with. And I found the path of entrepreneurship, and basically started watching like Shark Tank and Marcus Lemonis on CNBC's The Profit. He's
2 of
like
my favorite shows.
Yeah, it was cool because when we started Inspired by 11, the documentary, I'm such a go-getter. I just ask, like I'm not afraid to ask, and people are like, "Oh, how'd you get John Lee Dumas, and how'd you get Pat Flynn?" And I was like, "Well, I just asked." I asked John when we were at his house. I was like, "John," and we're now friends now too, and we're actually the only video production company on EOFire's resource page, which is a blessing and a gift too, because we built that relationship with him. He loves our work. Built that, like that's where it is, right? Building those relationships. But I asked him, I said, why did you want to work with us on this? And we ended up actually creating the trailer for the Freedom Journal when it launched, with his what was his launch on that, like over 450K on that launch.
That was crazy. That was your body of work. Beautiful.
Yeah, so
I watched that video.
Yeah, with the drone and everything.
Yeah.
So that was us. And but yeah, it was interesting because he said it was the fact that, Tamara, I could tell how passionate you were about what you do. And we looked at some of your work and we loved your work, and you were very persistent, but you're also, like I always talk to people and I say when people say no, I'm that person that will ask them a question on, instead of taking the answer no, like I'm like, well, why not, but what can we do to encourage you to become a part of something great? And so it's more like I'm that person to be like, no, that can turn a no into an interest, into a yes. And so I did things like reach out to Marcus Lemonis's team. Like I build relationships with his team.
Wow.
And Lori Greiner from Shark Tank, both of them follow me on Twitter now. Like I've had conversations, direct message with Marcus and Lori Greiner, which is crazy because Lori, she's got over 1 million followers and she only follows 600 people. And I'm fortunate to be one of the 600 she actually follows because I found ways to get their attention the right way and be able to offer value to people and see how we can work together and collaborate because, she's a really strong, female entrepreneur. And I love Marcus Lemonis. Like you can just tell his demeanor by watching him on the show. You just know he's a genuine guy that really believes in people, process, and product. So, and those are the things I started believing in, watching those shows probably good 4 years ago. And that really like changed my life. I got more addicted to entrepreneurship but then building it and being able to scale a business and build a team out, because at watching that show about building businesses with Marcus, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm not a freelancer. This is the path I'm going. So it's been quite the journey. So, but I definitely, it started back with just really getting kicked in the butt with my depression and wanting to do something with my life, because otherwise I knew I was just going to spiral out. And some people don't ever come out of that, but I was fortunate and I haven't gone back. So I have a good support system too.
Wow. I just want to say first and foremost, congratulations to you for being sober for 6 years. And I know a lot of the stuff that you shared, I can relate. As if you're a longtime listener or if you are new to the Thriving Beyond podcast, you can always go to episode 1 or 3 and listen to my story as I shared how I went through similar circumstance where I was depressed, lost, and I went through this alcoholic situational binging of sorts for half a year. And that took me to my first DUI, which you would think would not land me half a year of jail time, but because it was mixed in with a driving and reckless abandonment and also injuring a driver, and he had a broken collarbone. So thankfully that was the only thing that was damaged during that, other than my rock bottom point. when you're sitting there and you're, like you mentioned, you were waiting for bail and the judge said that you were just a detriment to the public, and you just needed that period for yourself to resolve some issues and find some closure with things. And that's exactly what I needed. And unfortunately for me, that was some infamous claim to fame back then. I had 15 seconds of, local news time plastered all over the news channel. But luckily I had a beautiful culmination moment a couple years back where I was on those same news channels, but actually featured for my story. So it's beautiful, the power of your story. But unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you like to see it, it is part of the process. It's part of the transformation, is that we have to be broken into little bits, and then maybe micro bits. If you were like me in my situation, I thought I hit rock bottom, and then nope, universe said, bam, nope, further, because I still had ego coming into play. I wasn't humble. I almost had that I'm untouchable. I know sheriff deputies. I'll get out of jail. I'll be fine.
I was the same way. Well, you can imagine going, here's a quick story. So think about this, though. The fact that I was pulled over the first 3 times within a 3-week period. So literally I was pulled over once where I didn't get the DUI, but I got a reckless driving ticket, and the officer failed to see that I had multiple open containers in the back of my seat, and I was going 108 miles per hour across a bridge. And the one thing that they always told me they didn't understand is that they said on the majority of people they would pull over, they would be going too slow on the speed limit, and I was like speed racer, like I had to get to my like destination. So they didn't really think I was drunk. And so yeah, the first time I was pulled over, he let me go. The second time I didn't drink for a whole week because I was well, not that part. So I went out the next week. I went out on Sunday nights because there was this place that had dollar pitchers, not beer, but like full on dollar pitchers.
Full size, not the mini little pitcher.
Yeah, like just like there you go.
Gosh.
Like, it was crazy. So I was addicted to that. But I went from this place every Sunday night because it started at 4 p.m. and we always thought, well, we'll go out from 4 to 9 because then we're in bed at a reasonable time if we work Monday morning, right? So that was my thought process back then. But so I went from being pulled over to getting reckless driving to the next week being pulled over in the exact same spot. And obviously somebody's looking over me, but to that, like getting the first DUI to not drinking for 2 weeks period because I was so scared of the first experience, and then being influenced to go out again 2 weeks again, pulled over right after I started drinking again. So I was like, whoa. So I was like, bam, 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 literally three pullovers in 3 weeks. And then the other two were 3 years apart. So there was that 3 like in my path. I don't know. I need to look up the definition of three threes, but yeah, it was crazy though. Like I should have thought my mom was like, do you not like, does this not please you? Like, what's going on? I was like, oh no, it's fine. And then the fourth time I was pulled over, when I got the third DUI, the reason I went out was because coworkers were celebrating that I had just gotten into a new college to get more recertified for personal training and nutrition classes. So we went out to celebrate that I got into the school, and then I had to drop the school because now I had thousands of dollars in attorney's fees and fines. So it was just like all these things that just kept getting hit with. But this last time I was like, oh, my heart sunk so bad. I was like, I should have learned the first time right, but I didn't. But I finally wised up after being pulled over literally 5 times, but being, taken to jail 4 times and then going to actual jail and then home suspension for 4 months. So that was just, I was like, okay. And I had some crazy stories with that too, from changing my shampoo to sitting in my backyard where suntan lotion went down my leg to them calling me saying, Tamara, why are you drinking? And I'm like, what? Like, I'm not, I swear, like, I'll come in and I'll test my breath, like things like that. Like, the people don't think like you freak out if that device on your ankle doesn't work right. Like, and for a fact that you didn't drink, but some little chemical that you're using either on your skin or hair or whatever, it could set that thing off. Like, I was so scared. I was like, I don't ever want to drink again. To having an interlock in my car for 5 years, like,
wow.
Blowing in that thing and having people drive by you and they probably think you're smoking pot or something, but you're blowing in a device. It's
right.
Like in your mouth, like people look at you weird. So all these things that came with my experience, I was like, I was so ashamed of it, but right now it just defines who I am. And I'm not afraid to share it, but it's because I've brought myself to this level and then came up to another level and now another level. And it's just the success now just comes from that experience. So it's been quite the journey.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being transparent and open. And unfortunately, here in Wisconsin, everything you said is like it's like a way, I shouldn't say a way of life, but it's almost embedded in the culture that's what you have to go through. You have to become like a binge drinker to really be Wisconsinite. And unfortunately, that's a bad culture. And that's a culture that I grew up with. And I can relate to what you're saying. But we don't realize, and I just had this, just with some of my writing, I realized the other day, within some of my writing, that I didn't know I was an alcoholic back then until I had a thought like, whoa, why am I taking this little small sip or drink of alcohol before I go to work? We just kind of undermine it, like underplay it. Yeah, it's just to numb a little bit of the pain or whatever I'm going through. and then you just keep moving forward. But when you're in the thick of this alcoholic depression, it's your coping mechanism that unfortunately it's been modeled. And then we need something to take that place. Also, like you mentioned too, with the addictive behavior, for me, it was being a workaholic for so many years. And then I had to replace that with just being in love and obsessed with personal development and personal growth.
Yeah, you probably have it different on that side of Wisconsin. Like the reason I was pulled over, I think, so many times is because at the time, and they're even more harsh now. And I'm in California now, but they're more harsh now here. They started changing some rules that were implemented in Washington State years ago. Like it's just they're starting to crack down more. But Washington at the time was the second. I don't remember what number one was, but it was rated the second most harshest state on DUIs.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, and so. I mean, I guess I'm thankful that that's how harsh they are with like DUIs and stuff like that. But I was, fortunate to not go to jail for like over a year or even 2 years, in regards to what happened. I had used a deferred prosecution on one. So basically it wasn't on my record. And then another case got dropped because there was a cop that was fired based on fraudulent claims. So like I was very fortunate through like the chain of events because having 4 DUIs would have been considered way harsher than me having 2 technically, within regards to them dropping 2. But in my eyes, I'm like, that's 4 because that was what happened. But yeah, I was very fortunate with what I came up with. But Washington was always really harsh, and now I'm starting to see them implement things in California. I'm like, man, they did that like 6 years ago in Washington. I'm like, they should just do it everywhere, right? But I mean, we all live our lives, and people go out for casual drinking and stuff like that. But people just need to be aware, like things are so easy to take other modes of transportation with like Uber and Lyft and taxis. They make it so accessible that, if you have that 1 drink or 2 drinks or you just feel a little bit off, like just think about it. Like it's not just you're affecting other people around you too. So it's I know judgment gets misplaced when you're drinking, but it's just hard. But I'm glad that I'm at where I'm at now.
Absolutely. It's taken a lot of, I'm sure, internal work. So let's dive into that just for a second. If you can recall like that big aha moment for you, and maybe you mentioned it, maybe you didn't, but what was that one aha moment for you during that time where you knew this thing was going to shift and change?
Well, it literally was when I was bailed out that last time, and when I mentioned being down in the jail cell in front of the judge in the actual jailhouse, literally saying like, you are a hazard to the community. Like I was like, whoa, I've never been like, because I always thought to myself, I'm a good person, like doesn't matter if I'm a good person, but I have an issue. And and I look back too, because I was that person that was in treatment 2 other times before, and you had to go pee in a cup and take a test, and I would be that person where I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to drink 2 days before this because I know they're going to test me, so I'm okay, like I'm not going to water it down or whatever. But I never got like caught, right? But the sense that I knew I was still drinking when I wasn't supposed to be, like as it built up, and that last look on my mom's face like just smacked me across the face. I just was looking at her look and my stepdad's look, and the look of like just being ashamed of who I was, knowing that then my next thought was, oh my gosh, I'm going to jail. How do I tell my workplace this? Like I'm going to lose everything. Like that's where it started. I actually ended up quitting that position at the health club, and I got a nanny position while I was in school. And I actually built the relationship with the nanny family and told them what happened. And they're like, they were glad that I told them. So they were able to work things out with me so that I could come back and be a nanny, like after my time. Like it was hard, but those things started happening in my head, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going away. And this is thousands and thousands of dollars. People don't understand how much money went out, like with fines, fees, attorney's fees, like treatment fees, like everything from being suspended on cars. Like not having a license, having to spend money on buses everywhere I go, living in a city that's nowhere near the treatment center they put me in, like 3 hours of travel each way via transferring buses to one. I didn't work for 1 year because I focused on the treatment, but I wasn't serious about it. And so, yeah, like my aha moment, I think, was really like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. I'm going to go away. And when I did go to jail, I was probably the tallest girl in there at 5'9", and I was probably the toughest girl looking in there because I didn't want people to get close to me. Like, I was a trainer at that time. I did tricep dips off the beds. I did lunges. I did push-ups. I did pull-ups from the bunk beds. Like, they were all just like, don't mess with this girl. Like, but that was the persona I brought across because I didn't want anyone to like hurt me. And I had situations where one gal came in and they brought her in was just released from an insane asylum. And she just came in and she was found wandering on some streets. And she was a tiny girl, but you knew that you didn't want to mess with her. And I had made a comment one day, and I was sitting on the little bench that has their little, like where we eat. It's like I had to share this whole community room of women for 3 months with 10 women in one area. So if one of them got sick, then we all got sick. We all shared each other's experiences. It was horrible. But this gal came in and I had said something, and I'm usually one to like kind of butt in and like step in if people are picking on people. Like, I just don't like people picking on people. So I made a mistake and I butted in, but I'm sitting down and the girl just jumped in my face, and she was like so close to my glasses. I was wearing glasses at the time, and the only thought that was going through my thought process at that moment was, oh my gosh, I could lose my eyesight right now. She's going to bash my glasses into my eyeballs. Like, that's all I could think. But I had to like be really calm and still. Like, this could be in a movie in slow motion. It was insane. But everyone was like yelling for the guard to come, like, get her out of here, put her in the holding block. Like, it was just insane. But just the experiences that I went through even in jail, and when I got out, I was like, and with the thought of like the home detention and like them thinking I was drinking because I had like an issue with like the body lotion, like or the new hair, like shampoo, whatever it was. Like, those things, I was like, I never want to do this again, like, ever. I was so scared. So it was almost like I was scared into sobriety. Like, those moments, like, just kind of define me now. And then when I was done with it after, like, the first 9 months of sobriety, I thought, I'm just disappearing. And I disappeared basically from my whole circle of people I surrounded myself with other than family and people in AA. Like, I just was like, this is it. Like, I can't do this. So that's basically where there's little pieces that made me like, I just don't want to go back.
Yeah. It's funny how once you go through that process, there are so many little stories like you just shared with us that I have as well, where you have to carry on this different persona, protect yourself. Like, by nature, I might look intimidating. I've had that said to me over and over and over again. But once you get to know me, you're like, dude, this guy's a big softie. He's like really a good friend.
Big teddy bear.
Yeah.
Big teddy bear.
So in there, that armor, based on my appearance and image, it worked. But it's funny how you mentioned the smallest person, and the smallest person that was very comedic in our dorm. Now, we had 59 people that I was bunking with. Bunk beds, 59 people, wow. Closed, confined. So you can just imagine, the smells and things that came out of that place, right?
Yes.
And the smallest guy, very comedic, one day he just jawed at me. I was like, okay, this is what I've been waiting for. Months and months of sitting there. And then finally the one guy jaws at me, and I just jawed right back. And that's all they're looking for, is just to poke at you, right? But you got to let them know that, hey, don't poke the bear, because it's going to get a little mean here.
Yeah, no, that gal was scary. Like, probably one of the scariest people I've ever come across. And she was probably like 5'1". I was like, but in that moment though, I was shorter than her because she had the authority standing over me, and I was in a position of sitting down. And so she had it. Like, if she wanted to slug me in the eyes, like, she could have, because I was like, if I made that move, like, she was so close to my face, like quarter of an inch from my glasses and my nose. I was like, breathe, like, Oh man, everyone was like, when they threw her out, all the girls were like, "Wow, you're amazing! You handled that so well." And I'm like, my heart's just like pounding, and oh man, I was like, I'm just never gonna open my mouth in here again. So I basically like kept to myself and just continued to work out. And yeah, I definitely had some run-ins with people in there. It was interesting to see like all the different types of people that came through there. Because I didn't relate on those senses because I never did any other types of drugs or anything like that. Alcohol was my vice, but there was a lot of, cocaine addicts that were drawn in, and you'd see them like coming down off their highs and just tweaking out. It was just interesting because I'd never been around that myself. So I thought to myself, I never want to be like that either.
Right.
Just different types of addictions. Like we were all addicted to something, it's good or bad, So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how you learn how to survive in there, especially with the way people are resilient. That was another thing too. I saw a lot of creativity in there. Speaking of, creativity, as we mentioned early on, is I met some phenomenal artists, some people that would make roses out of toilet paper that they would sell me like dipped in some ink dye, and my girlfriend would get these just in the mail in this envelope, and she'd be like, "How did you make this?" I go, "Oh, I bought it from this guy."
That's great. Yeah, no, it's just, yeah, I just can't, I'm so focused now on the way my life is now. And we are doing well in business and just like keep generating new goals each year and building. And that's such a defining moment for me that it's interesting because there's certain parts of my life that I just don't even look at anymore. I don't even think about it until people bring it up. That's
Right.
one thing I will never forget.
Yes.
But like, I definitely that is like why I am like who I am though. Like it's really like obviously I realized more about my personality after I sobered up. Like I was like, oh, like I'd talk to my mom about things. She's like, no, you've always been like that. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm just me, but just lost myself when I was drunk all the time, So yeah, it's interesting.
Okay. So during that time, was there like a prayer, a mantra, anything that you latched on to get through that tough time?
I did pray more. I did during that time. I had actually looked for more support. I did get a sponsor during that time, and people can believe in sponsorships and support through AA, and everyone has their own opinions through it. I was in AA for about 3 years, and people can come back and be like, you should still be in AA, but I made that choice to push forward in a different sense of support. So yeah, I went through like the 12 steps and did all those things, and it helped me at that time. And I don't avidly go to AA. I go on my birth date. I go back to remind myself, and all power to everyone that continues to go to AA. And this was my choice to stop at the 3-year mark, but I continue to pray. I continue to, whenever something's, in the beginning, I would pray, like, take these thoughts or these cravings away from me. And it was weird because I didn't get the cravings that much. I got more cravings because I actually quit smoking cigarettes the same exact moment. And I smoked for 10 years. So that was a harder challenge to actually quit an addiction craving, was actually me quitting smoking, because I put the two hand in hand. So like if I was driving drunk, I'd be smoking. And that was why I was actually pulled over the third time, is because I actually littered. So I got a litter fine for flicking a cigarette butt out drunk. So yeah, there wasn't like one thing that really just helped me. I think it was just keeping that support in the beginning. And people can disagree with me, like saying like you should be in AA for life. But it's one of those things where in my sense is I don't need to continuously tell myself, I'm an alcoholic, and just remind myself. So I literally have dove into business, and if that's for you, like that's amazing. Like keep up that support. I just have so many different goals and ambitions than to keep reminding myself of this, but to keep, like, if there's any time I have any kind of feeling or anything, I have people to call that, I'm like, hey, like that's when I quit smoking cigarettes. I literally like would call people and I'd say, hey, I just need to talk to you because I'm really craving a cigarette. I'm driving right now, and can we just talk? Like, and so it was funny. I had a buddy of mine. I just called him up, and he was just like, are you craving a cigarette? And I'm like, yes. I was like, this is crazier than me wanting alcohol, because I'm scared of alcohol. But the cigarette thing, like, I was like, oh, I don't even want to know what my lungs look like after 10 years of smoking. But the fact that I knew those came hand in hand, so I had to cut both, or geez, I would be just even more unhealthy now, So that was a big change too there. So it's like dropping two things at once. But yeah, I just say, like, I do continuously, I do pray, and there's not a specific prayer or anything or a chant that I say to myself, but I just say that I'm grateful for the experience, and just to keep me going and just keep me strong through any situations, through life and business, basically.
Beautiful. Yeah, I can definitely relate. The support system is everything when you're going through that. And I do agree with you. I know I've mentioned this on other podcast episodes where the whole 12-step process, it's beautiful, especially when you have no other steps to help you get through that. It's a great way. Like the Serenity Prayer, awesome prayer, especially when you're going through it, because you need to know that there's a bigger reason and there's something bigger than us that we can latch on to, which is our faith.
Oh, I have one other thing that was like a crazy aha moment, bringing up the Serenity Prayer. So this was like, okay, I was in my office. I was actually staying with my mom when I got the last one, and basically I was like, okay. But this was like an aha moment though, and I knew it, and I knew I had to go to AA because I had had a call with somebody, and then I had looked up through the book and I saw the Serenity Prayer, and it was like that moment. It was like within my first 10 days of sobriety. I looked up, and I had never seen this on the painting on this wall before. Like, it was in my stepfather's office, basically. But right on the bottom, it just said the word serenity, and I had the AA, the 12-step book in front of me at that moment, and I was being told that I was being called to go to AA, basically. It was like this, whoa, like, okay. And then I literally, I go and I open up the AA booklet of meetings, and right when I open the book, I see right here in the city I was living, there was an actual meeting called Serenity at the town hall that day in like 45 minutes from that time. So I was like,
wow.
Whoa, like, like those are the things that happen that you realize you need, like those moments, like, oh geez, like my heart just like, I got like shivers and
you got the chills.
stuff. So,
I'm getting chills right now thinking about that.
So I went to that group for actually quite a while, and it was nearby, and I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, like you said, like there's just moments where you're like, okay, this works for me now. Maybe it might not be the best thing for me later, and people can disagree or agree, but that's just how my take on or it is right now, and it has been for the last few years. And I feel great. Like, I just feel great, and I'm open to anybody's opinions on anything, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. God, source, universe, whatever your religious makeup is, we've all had these moments where God, universe is showing us something. And I had so many of those moments. So many. I'd say something, and then in that very instant that the word would come out of my mouth, a bus would be going by with a big freaking like billboard ad with the same word. Everything was synced up. When you're synced up and you're synchronized with the universe, and the universe is telling you something. So I'm glad that you listened, and I'm glad that you took on all those 12 steps. And I agree with you. I'm very big on what I speak becomes life. So I was opposed to saying I'm an alcoholic, because I wasn't. I was not. I was going through a bad time. And I remember the best friends during that time, all they did was say, call me. Just call me and let's talk. And they would never say, look, I can't talk right now. They would just listen. And those were the best people that God put in front of me. And I'm so appreciative for that. So thank you so much for sharing. So if you could give some of the best advice that you've received from a coach, business coach, mentor, friend, family member, what would that be right now?
I mean, I've received a lot of different good information, and I think it's about when I got basically the first steps of like changing your mindset and really believing on where you can go with life, like, and taking massive action is basically my thing. Like when I was able to like learn from other coaches and mentors, like the one thing that was stopping me in the very beginning was the mindset thing, like, oh, I can't afford this, instead of thinking like, okay, well, what can I do in the next 24 hours that I can't afford this? Like, what can I do to get to the next level? Like, I always think like that now. Like, I just don't ever think like my persistence, like someone says no, I'm like gonna come back, and I do, like, people call me the power of the follow-up queen, like because all of a sudden I'm like buzzing. And we had a client that we just wrapped up her branding trailer last month, and it all started from her interviewing me on her podcast, to me teaching her audience about video, to her wanting to know more about it, to all of a sudden we moved to California, and then she's 15 minutes from me, then we meet in person and we build this relationship, and then like creating this experience. But like, I don't know, just being able to change like my mindset and being able to connect with people, like people just need to take action. Like it really is like, it's in a lot of things. People get stuck in the mind and like just think I can't, or I won't, or I'm not strong enough. But you do what you have to do to get to where you want to be, even if it's hard. Like we all know there's hardships, and there's people out there that have harder stories than you and I. Like, we listen to them and we're like, whoa, like people go off to prison for, 5 years. And like, I had a guy reach out because he heard me on a podcast. He goes, I was so excited to hear your story, Tamara. He's like, I just want you to know, I just got out of prison 5 years ago, and this is this. And he just won a ticket to Grant Cardone's event. He's changing his life around. Like, those are the stories that you want to hear. Like, and everyone can do it. They have to take, they have to have the willpower to just try things and ask for help. So that was really one of my biggest things, was just really, once I changed that mindset, it was just like, boom, even though it sounds simple, like people have to get out of their heads. Like, it's just start taking action,
Awesome advice. Yep. And wow, that is a crazy good story that you just shared. That some guy that just got out of jail.
I know. We just had this conversation. It was great. Yeah, he was awesome too. So
okay, so for somebody right now wanting to start their own video production company, what are 3 steps that you could share with them to do today? And I know you mentioned a lot of the networking that you do, but other than what you've already said, what are some things that they might be missing and might not see initially, but 3 things that they could do today to start a video production company?
Well, being able to, start yourself on a budget first, because, you can find affordable gear. Make sure you have the right gear in line for what you're planning to do. If you're starting off like a videographer that wants to start off like a production company, like that's where I started. I started investing in like specific smaller gear, from like DSLR cameras to different lenses to, cheaper wireless mics in the beginning, to like being able to sell stuff later to upgrade. Like, so you go through that process, but being able to find even just reaching out into different groups, like I think is important, like Facebook groups of other video experts and stuff, and see what they're like talking about, to like gain more knowledge about how to like help build your business with that, and being able to market yourself. Really, like once you've established yourself and you want to be that company, you need to get yourself out there, like get your awareness out there and start connecting. And you have to figure out your niche too, like who's your target audience, like who do you want to specify, like, because production companies can really like they can work for anyone, but I love to work with successful entrepreneurs and business owners that have that story and that passion. Like, yeah, I produced for Microsoft and Starbucks, and they had these great like videos, but there wasn't always a story behind it. Like, we do also like online courses and stuff like that, but we make them extremely creative and like demonstrations, multiple cameras, like with some of this like starting. Yeah, I think that the things is basically just make sure you have the right gear to start with, start connecting with other people in the industry to see what other people are doing, and then figuring out your niche target, basically on who you want to be your ideal client, and start just making making those personal outreaches, like introduce yourself and what you're doing. And there's a lot of people that, don't start off cold pitching. I'm not a fan of it. Like I have people message me on Facebook all the time, or they'll add me and then they automatically send me a like request on their page. I'm like, hi, I don't even know who you are or what you're doing. And I'll just make a conversation and be like, hey, it's good to basically, introduce yourself next time. Let me know a little bit more about you and why you're doing this. And people will be like, oh yeah, I was just excited about it. I'm like, that's awesome. But like, make an introduction. Just talk with people first and see what their needs are instead of like throwing yourself at them, like nobody likes that. So, yeah, just stuff like that. I would say that was probably a little bit more than your what you wanted, but there's just different things to do when you're starting a business.
Right. So many moving components, and I definitely can relate to everything you said. Build conversations, and then from there, just keep staying persistent. It's like that one little kid that would always knock on your door growing up or ring your doorbell and always trying to sell their next thing, right?
Cookies,
brownies. They were just persistent, and you respected that sooner or later because they weren't selling you. They just said, hey, what are you doing today? By the way, I got these cookies right here. You know why I'm coming, right?
Yeah, that was me. I was in the campfire with my campfire group that sold little candies. So I'd go in the Bluebirds. I'd go door to door with my dad, but it was so funny because I would make my dad be the salesman, and I'd like hide behind my hands, like giggling. I was like, "Hi," and I'm definitely not like that now, but it's just funny to come up. But it's funny. But yeah, just be persistent and be friendly, and just ask what people's needs are when you're really starting out, because you have to get your first clientele first and really start building, and then build the relationships and get those testimonials is key, especially videos. Video testimonials, key.
Yes, we could definitely dive into a little bit of that, but that's a little bit too technical. Let me ask you this. On the tech side of video, what are the three resources or software, anything that you recommend right now for somebody starting off?
Well, let's see here. I actually have a course coming out March 1st that explains some of this stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I'm actually going into how to teach individuals how to use their smartphone to create high quality videos on the side of the technical side of equipment wise, like audio, lighting, stability. Because what the reason of that though is because people need to look at their cell phone as an asset instead of a liability. You're making these monthly payments on the cell phone, right? Use this tool to basically start generating money for you. Like if you're not starting with if you're not doing video yet, like start doing something with either going Facebook Live or, using your cell phone to use it as a technical side, and then going into different apps that people can actually just edit right off their phone if they want something with the basic lower thirds or whatever it is. But I go deep diving more into the different ways that you can make a professional video. But technical side of things, well, we use Final Cut. But yeah, if people are just getting started, I just recommend people kind of diving into iMovie or something that's on their phone they can download, or on their computer based on if they have a PC or Mac. Just really getting going, start playing with your phone, looking up different tutorials of things. And that's why we have our course coming out. So we go through the whole system and settings and all sorts of stuff. So, but yeah, I could go into that for hours, but there's a little bit there, but yeah.
Okay. I see. So definitely we're looking forward to your podcast, or I'm sorry, I'm over here choking right now.
It'll be called Videos That Profit. So be on the lookout. Coming in March.
Yeah, by the time this is published, if you're listening right now, it's probably out. And wow, this has been a really good segment. You guys have listened to some tips, video production side, some storytelling, and if you could share with us, for somebody out there that wants to create maybe a storyboard, okay? So they're just getting introduced to storyboarding. How could you paraphrase the best way to storyboard?
It's complicated.
The uncomplicated way.
Storyboard. So for us, We actually have a storyboard artist so that they actually draw out the content, but basically we sit down and strategize. So we do a whole 90-minute strategy session of what the person's ideal story is, or help them pull out their actual story. Because there's had people that come to us where they think this is the story that they want to share, and then they just feel like there's something missing. So then once they become more comfortable and start opening up, usually we find the real story that they want to showcase for their brand. And through that process, we put together a whole outline, which goes into a whole shot list story, like what we have to think about, locations, everything like that, before we even process that information to send over to the storyboard artist. So there's a lot of different details that go into that for storyboarding. But we really do just take basically that strategy session first and find those key elements of what, like how, what, where, why, and then going from there, we go back and forth with our clients on different things and elements of that before we send that over. And then he basically draws that out for us and we send that to them. It's kind of like a bonus thing because you usually use storyboards, through like films and stuff, but it's good when you're creating like trailers because it's almost like a little like cinematic movie in a way. So it does make sense for us to provide storyboards for what we're doing. So
it absolutely makes sense. Even with writing, is seeing the writing process from a screenwriter's lens. And if I am just absolutely not a writer by any sense of the word, but visually unpacking something as if I'm watching a movie, now that takes me into being more descriptive and actually using some of my creative ingenuity. So storyboarding is very important in different aspects of the creative process. So I'm thankful that you shared some of that.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm a creative, so I'm very visual. So yeah.
Right on. So thank you so much for joining us here on Thriving Beyond. I know this has been a longer episode, but for you right now today, connecting with some of the audience listening right now, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, no, there's a few different ways. Like if you're big on like Instagram or Twitter, you can follow, it's at Serious Take Pro. So like Serious Take Productions, but Productions was kind of long. So Serious Take Pro, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I have my director. If you just type in director Tamara Thompson, that will go to my public figure page, and also SeriousTakeProductions.com would be our website to check our work or connect with us through Serious Take Productions Facebook. You can follow us on any of those and kind of see what we're up to with our video content. We just released a new updated reel, which is getting a lot of traction right now, which is really cool and getting a lot of good feedback. So I'm excited about that launch. So yeah, check out our stuff, and I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Hey, our pleasure, Tamara. Thank you so much for joining. And this has been another episode of Thriving Beyond. And as always, keep going, keep growing, and keep on thriving, because it's way better than just freaking surviving. Peace.
Thanks for listening. For recaps and to claim bonus gifts, head over to thrivingbeyondpodcast.com. Keep thriving.